Hey, everybody. Kimberly Olson here, also known as the Gold Digger Girl, and I have Jessica here.
Hi.
Hey, and I'm going to find out where everybody's at, and then I'll do an introduction to get her in here. So if you guys are just hopping on, I'll give you guys a second to pop on. If you are watching this right now, you're probably on the replay, so go ahead and put 2 in the comments. And, oh, I want to make sure it wasn't vertical because she came in the wrong way.
You're good.
Can you guys see me okay? All right, so let me know if this is sideways or something up. I think Facebook just changed their Facebook Live features again. So when I went to go on, it actually told me there were 600 people online right now that are on my friends list. So what I want you guys to do is put a 1 in the comments if you're watching this live, put 2 if you're watching the replay, put new if you're either new to me, Kimberly, or new to Jessica. Most of you probably haven't seen her. I'm guessing if there's a lot of my people watching.
And I'm not ignoring anyone on here or you. I'm sharing this to my page right now so
Awesome.
You can all take notes.
Okay, good. Yes, it's so good to share your broadcast. Now I want to hear where you guys are coming in from. So just let us know city, state, province. Also, I'm going to ask you guys to share this, and this is why you want to share it. 1, we want to share it because the information is going to be inspiring. She's put together content to give you guys a take-home homework that you guys can do to take action on what she talks about. Also, you will get entered into a drawing to win my book that's coming out this month, and the drawing ends today. So if you're watching the replay, it ends July 14th. So if you share this, put share in the comments, and we'll give you a special shout out. So I'm going to introduce you now. So Jessica and I met, oh gosh, it was before the girls were born. So
maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, I would say 5 or 6 years ago. And I was doing a news interview with one of her coworkers, and what struck me right away is she was in the news department, and I was doing more of a lifestyle interview, and she afterwards came up and she started asking me some questions about nutrition, and I was kind of intimidated because she was like at a news station, but you were just so genuine right off the bat. Yeah, and I was like, I love this girl, like I could be friends with her in another life. So right away I instantly hit it off with her. But I wanted to read her bio really quick. I don't know if you guys got a chance to. I won't read the whole thing because I could talk for days about this girl, but what I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to share with you guys so you knew the background on her and why I wanted to bring her in for an interview today. Jessica, when she was finishing up college, she started a foundation of her own character education nonprofit group called Praise. Like, could you guys imagine being in college just like, I'm just gonna start this foundation? Then she was a political appointee at the White House, presiding over the president's domestic and international volunteer missions, including work with the Peace Corps, American Red Cross, American Corps, and other ventures. And she won an award for over 4,000 hours of community service. So can we give her the little hands up, the little praise symbol for that? I won an award in, I think, high school for like 200 hours. So, and I was like, I'm so cool.
Everything counts.
Yes,
Everything
I know, but 4,000 hours. Then she went on to place as a runner-up for Miss Alabama, Miss D.C, and now is over in San Antonio at Fox News, which is where we became friends.
Yes.
So today we are just going to chat. I'm going to pick her brain a little bit, and I wanted to bring you guys along for the ride. So here we go. Now, why don't we start off with, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of maybe where you think your ambitious nature has come from?
Sure.
Because clearly there's a lot going on here.
Sure. Well, I feel like I'm looking at a mirror because you've already done 2 books. You have your PhD in nutrition, and that's one of the reasons I feel like we connected, because I felt like she was kind of at the forefront of leading that nutritional movement. And that's one of the things that kind of set my life back on track about 10 years ago. To answer your question about that ambitious nature, I want to say hi to all of you. I love what she's doing. She's encouraging you in your goals and your dreams. There's enough negativity out there in the world that we need people who are going to boost what we're trying to do and the good things that we're trying to do. So going back to answer that question about the ambitious nature, when I was a child, I think it was one thing and then it's morphed into another. As a child, we all go through different circumstances. We all have our own stories. My story was that dance was my life. I normally danced 5 to 7 days a week, 4 to 7 hours a day, but I was not a naturally talented dancer, and it was a very competitive environment. And so I had to learn quickly how to become good at the things that maybe were not innate to someone's discipline, meaning turns and jumps were something that I could rise above that lack of flexibility. But at the same time, I was also dealing with a lot of struggles for a young child that would be tough on any person. And just for the sake of time, I won't delve into that too deeply. But I will say that my hair started falling out when I was in 7th grade.
Oh my gosh.
And when I was younger, I remember part of that was I started seeing people's misuse of power at a very young age, outside of my family, not my family. And it made me very angry. Now, I used that anger to fuel my determination even later in life. So people in places of power, whether it's celebrity, we're not just talking about politics here. We're talking about whether it is that singer that you love. There are so many opportunities to make a difference. You don't have to be a rock star in life, but I wanted my life to translate into meaningful differences in people's life, and that I'm human like anyone else. I make mistakes, but I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see in the world, for lack of better terms.
I love that. That's amazing. I know that's a quote by Gandhi.
Yeah.
Be the change you envision.
Right?
So that's a good way to live. I love that. That's amazing. So with that being said, one of the things I've always noticed, because if you guys don't know, what time do you start work?
Well, I used to start and wake up at 1 a.m. in the morning because I was on the morning show, and that went on for 5.5 years. And thank goodness to my station, Fox San Antonio, they promoted me to night anchor. So now I'm able to wake up at normal hours.
Okay.
And I do the 9 p.m. show now.
So that's totally different.
Yes.
But I mean, think about that, you guys. And I would usually see you about 7-ish, and she was just going strong, so much energy. Then I would see her like posting things throughout the day. She was exercising, she was doing all these things. So how have you been able to have all of that energy? I mean, you are always energetic anytime I talk to you. How do you do that?
Thank you. Well, anyone who tells you that life is, that they have this whole energy thing mastered is lying, because energy, there's only so much in a day. You have to conserve it where you can conserve it, take the shortcuts where it's not going to be detrimental, and take the long way where you have to take the long way. There is a shift and an evolution that happens throughout your life. So there are a few tangible things that I put into place throughout my life that have helped me. For one, I started step by step. About 10 years ago, I had a health, let's call it slight crisis. It wasn't a major crisis, but I realized that I had to get my nutrition in check. I realized some of the things that weren't working for me in my life. So to this day, if I'm going 90 to nothing, there are little hacks, call them Headley hacks, but a lot of people may share these, that I use to be able to keep that energy up. One of them was, you have to fuel your body correctly. I always have frozen fruit around the house, a good protein powder, and I also have a good almond milk, because that means if I haven't had time to go to the store, if I haven't had time to put that order in for food, I have something that will sustain me for the next 6 hours. I also realize caffeine can be really detrimental to your goals if it affects you in a certain way, meaning that not every caffeine is equal. So sometimes, and I know it's all the craze right now, but it's true, bulletproof coffee is kind of like a slow release of the caffeine.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of that. I'm also a big fan of something called yerba mate. So those are different things externally that I do to keep up my energy. But the other thing was also realizing that I don't necessarily need to do that 1 or 2 hour workout at the gym, but slowing down to speed up, meaning I learned different exercises I could do when I had 15-minute intervals of time, whether it was just weights, whether that was calisthenics, whether that was push-ups, and just using that 15 minutes of time. So those are ways that I kept my energy up. But the most important thing is I realized that when I was having to wake up at 1 a.m. and go to sleep at 5 p.m.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. It was taking a toll on my body. It was taking a toll on just my life in and of itself. So I had to get really creative, and I had to slow down and think, what does Jessica need? Because ultimately we do all these things and we run around because we want to make our lives and other people's lives better. But if you are a drag on everyone around you because you're not taking care of yourself, you will do everyone else a favor by making sure that you get your life in check.
Can you guys put a 3 in the comments if you can relate to that? She is dropping some heat there. It's so true.
Right?
People just don't take care of themselves.
Yeah, and it's tough to do that, and it shouldn't be all about us, but I don't like to be a downer for people around me, and we're never going to always be perfect. We have people around us so that they can support us, so that we can support them. But if it's happening too often, then a lot of times we have to make that effort to change something within our life or ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the people watching here are moms, they're entrepreneurs, they're working. Some of them stay at home with small children. A lot of them have ambitions, like we talked about, and they want to, grow their careers and things like that, but they're having a hard time balancing it all.
Sure.
They're telling me like they're not finding time in their day to work on their business, or they're just feeling really run down. And so I feel like you're always juggling a lot of stuff. So how do you,
too much.
Right? I mean, you are though. You always have a lot going on, because it's not just you have your news position. Like, I feel like there's other things that come with that, right?
Sure.
So how do you juggle everything? What advice would you give to them?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of things I won't go into today, but I'm not just the girl who only has my job. And by the way, a news career is extremely demanding, and I love my job, but you do have to have things in order to be able to get that done, and then a lot of the things that I do on the side. I do not have this perfected, but there are things that have helped me in my way of life. for one, I stepped back and realized where some of my problem areas were. A lot of you may already do what I call bundling in your life. That is something where you don't want to run to, let's use groceries. We don't want to run to the store twice a week, right?
So all the time.
Right?
And horrible.
Well, now if it's a hobby for you and it's something that's therapeutic and you love picking out the vegetables, that's separate, okay? Because that's something that maybe gives you that time, you know?
Right.
Because that is truly a passion for some people. If it is not, then I really recommend having a board and a place in your life, and you have columns for things like the pharmacy or CVS, for your alterations, for your groceries. And every day as things pop in your mind, you just add things to that column. You go once a month for your alterations, you go once a week for your groceries, and those sorts of things. You know, I keep mentioning slowing down to speed up, but if you know that you're that fast paced, slow down to learn the system with Amazon, slow down to learn the system with Shipt. Those are systems where they will deliver things to you. Or maybe you still have not transferred all that mail that comes to you, and you're not doing online banking, and you're not paying them online, and you're not automating them. Automate your systems. It's all about the systems you put into place. So it's like brushing your teeth. If you wake up in the morning, when you're younger, you have to think about brushing your teeth. Your parents are like, brush your teeth. I still remember that. But now you don't think about it. Right? So it goes with everything in life. Some of the other things that I was thinking about before I came here today, decision making. For us ladies, not all women, but I have noticed this with a lot of my female friends, including myself, we can have paralysis by analysis.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm extremely effective at making hard decisions in certain areas, but other areas, I can pick it apart. For example, on a Saturday morning, I used to have difficulty deciding between yoga or do I get all the stuff done on a Saturday morning, right? I'd spend 30 minutes trying to decide when I could have gotten 30 minutes done. So if they're equal, I just pick one and I go with it. And I know that the other one, if it mounts to too much later, then it's going to take care of itself, and I'll prioritize that next time. I also think another way to conserve energy is recognize how you work. One of my loved ones, he's the sort of person who every 30 minutes he likes to schedule something. It's to a T. Okay, so that is beneficial to you. That works. That helps build your energy. For me, I don't like that. I have to work like that a lot at work, and that's fine. I'm able to do that. But the most beneficial system for me on, say, like a Saturday morning is I have my list ready to go. I attack the hardest thing first, but I let it flow so that it doesn't feel like I have to. It feels like I'm rejuvenating energy as I'm doing that, because it's just, it all goes together. It's like a dance. It's not, I have to do this and I'm jerking from one activity to the next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I like that she's saying that, you guys, because a lot of them will say, what systems do you use to track? Because a lot of them do leads and prospecting and stuff like that, or they're really having a hard time getting organized and structuring their day. And so they're trying to copy me or whoever, which is fine, like to model people. But I think they're trying to force themselves into a box. And I like how you were just recognizing that we're all different, and it's just figuring it out and taking the time. That's the thing, is just slowing down. It's almost like you need to slow down to become more efficient. Right. You know? Well,
and that loved one that I was talking about, you know, I also had to figure that out because I loved his system and how effective he was. And I said, okay, that's great. But then I realized I was getting burnt out just operating. For me, it felt very robotic, and I'm very creative and an artist, and that's where my energy comes from. So allowing it to kind of move, I was actually getting more done. As long as nobody was depending on me. Like, show up on time if you're meant to be somewhere on time.
Your kids need you to pick them up at preschool or something.
Please show up.
Please do. That'd be great. Okay. So what about, how do you handle setbacks? Because you have conquered amazing things already at such a young age, and a lot of these girls watching they're trying to grow their businesses, and there are so many setbacks, and a lot of them are their own setbacks, mindset, negativity, maybe not a supportive spouse, or their business isn't growing the way that they want it to. How do you handle setbacks, or what could you speak about on that?
It is a daily focus to ensure that you can overcome obstacles. There are a lot of things, like many people, that I've had to work to overcome in my life, and the devil loves to get in our brain, and he loves to say, you're not good enough, you can't do this. And even after 10 years working in news, 4 years working in politics, probably 20 years in public speaking, there are still days when I get on stage that those little voices want to say, you're not ready for this, or you can't do this. Yes, because we're only human.
Right.
And so obviously there's positive mental messages. At the end of the day, I always make sure that if there are people, we're not talking about people who may be struggling in our lives that may need our help, but if there are people who are just not good people that we don't need to be around, I ensure that I have surrounded myself by positive, good people, because in those moments, for example, a great example would be, there was a moment in my career where I had an opportunity to go to network. It would have been 20 times the salary, but there were a few unethical things associated with it. And the platter it was being served on was pushing me to take it, and basically said I was dumb if I didn't take it. But I had surrounded myself by good people. They understood my conscience, and they said, that's just not the way to go. And at the end of the day, when you have, I could have kept beating myself up saying, am I making the right choice?
Right.
But I had good people around me. The other thing I would mention is, a lot of people talk about gratitude and starting their day with thanks, but I started something differently because I started realizing, and that may work for you, and if it does, know your system, put it into place. It didn't work for me because I was waking up every day and being like, thank you for the blue skies. Thank
like a
you
checklist,
for,
like,
right.
yeah.
And it also made me feel like, yeah, well, this other person is thanking God for their, new Ferrari or their new, like, whatever, I don't know. And it just didn't work for me. But what did work for me is, I know there's plenty of people watching this who may have a different point of view and a different perception or a different faith, but my particular faith, I don't believe God is a Santa Claus, but it helped me to have an answered prayer list, meaning every time that I saw something in my life that wasn't happening the way I wanted it, those mountains weren't being moved the way that I wanted it to, I would go back and be like, wow, look at these mountains that have been moved in my life.
I love that.
Yeah, so it made me realize, like, okay, well, this is the way it's meant to be, but I'm not forgotten, and neither are you. And we all have mountains that have been moved in our life, and it probably wasn't of our own doing.
Right, something divine. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I don't know if those will help some of you kind of keep going and get it all done, but I really encourage you, as you partition your lifestyle, to take those moments for yourself, but also to organize your life in a way where everything doesn't bleed into each other. Meaning, when it's time for dinner, put that phone down. When it's so delight in the moment. And that way, when you have 30 minutes, when we have 30 minutes in this conversation, I'm here.
Right.
As soon as we're done with this, it's on to something else. So focus and delight in the moment.
I love that. You guys can hashtag that. That's really
There's so much more I have to say, but for the sake of time, let's
no,
leave
that's
there.
really good. I love that. So as far as tips go, like a takeaway tip, a lot of boss babes here watching, what would you say to encourage them to go after their dreams? Because a lot of them aren't giving themselves permission. They see someone like you or me, because we're very visible, and they think, oh, well, I'm not like them. I don't have what she has or what it takes. What would you say to them to encourage them to go after their dreams and give themselves permission?
And this takes a lot of self-reflection, and I really want to encourage you on this, because my mother said something to me once. I said, yes, but I want to change the world, when I was like 12. I still remember this. I want to be president of the United States. And she's like, and recently she reminded me of this conversation, and she said, I want you to remember that those people who are on big stages can influence lives, but sometimes the most powerful people that are influencing lives are the people who are doing it just with the 5 people around them. And something that I think we have gotten out of perspective in America, and I think America's a wonderful nation. Now, I'm going to go on a slight tangent here to explain this, so follow me. A girl a few years ago to me said she wanted to be an expatriate, and I was like, I love America. Well, yes, we have things to fix, but why was she saying this? And she said, well, people understand siestas and enjoying time with family and things of that nature. And while I didn't agree with her on all levels there, I did agree with her that, and I'm guilty of this, I was an overachiever for so long that achieving helped me sometimes feel like I was on top of everything, like I was getting things done, and we should use our gifts to the fullest capacity. But this is simply to say that we were not all created with the same skill set. This mentality, we're running this race super, super fast in life. We don't all need to have, we're not all going to be the next singer. We're not all going to be the next surgeon. We're not all going to be the next amazing welder who just built the most fantastic house with this dream contractor, right? Sometimes we were meant to be that encourager right in our own community and to think locally. So I really encourage you on here to think about your skill set, because I never thought I would end up in San Antonio, Texas.
Really?
Yeah, never, not in a million years. I thought I would end up in New York City or Los Angeles, but I know that this is where God has me, and I realize that you walk through the door that is open to you, and He has done so much work within me, and I hope through my life with other people. And so as you set on your dream and you try to figure out where you're trying to go, recognize your skill set and be grateful for the door that's been opened to you where you are. Maximize that, and also recognize that while you might have written 2 books, maybe I'm not supposed to write a book. Maybe we have this education culture where everybody's supposed to be, go to grad school. And that is a wonderful thing to do if that is the path that you feel like you're supposed to be on and called to. The most successful of the 7 kids in my family, potentially, he didn't go to college. He's an artist. And I'm not discouraging education in any way, shape, or form, but I am saying find that gift or find those gifts. It may not distinguish you from the next artist, but it's what is needed in your community.
I love that. Yeah. And also too, I've noticed once I finally embraced that about myself with doing lives and stuff like this in the fall, I was finally like, I'm just going to be myself. Like, I'm going to stop being Fit Kim. I'm just going to be Kimberly Olsen.
Yeah.
Oh, people totally responded to it. And I felt so good about what I was doing. I wanted to do lives. I wanted to share. It wasn't like I was trying to fit into this certain persona.
Right.
And you guys will be surprised. People are really attracted to that.
Sure.
You can just be yourself. So how can viewers find you, or the people watching today? I know they're going to want to go follow you. Tell them all your social media places. Where can they find you?
Well, I would love for you to join. If you're ever south of Austin or east of San Antonio or west of San Antonio, we have a pretty wide scope there with Fox San Antonio. Come out at 9 p.m. I'd love for you to follow me there. Also, Instagram, the Jessica Headley. Jessica Headley was taken. I'm not that arrogant. Some Jessica Headley out there took. Yeah, they took my name. So how dare they? So it's the Jessica Headley on Instagram, and I'm trying to show off South Texas. Occasionally, have some Headley hacks, if you will, things that might make your life easier. Because I think adventure and kind of having that outlet is really important. So I'm trying to show off those things. And then I'd also just say, I know a lot of you are building your business out there, and public speaking is a big part of that. Occasionally I'll do a little bit of one-on-one coaching on the side, so feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, or you can just search Jessica Headley on Facebook or Twitter, and I'll respond to you there.
Awesome. And I tagged her in the post description, you guys, so if you click Jessica's name on there, it'll take you right to her page, and you can like her page and get her updates and all that stuff.
Thanks.
So before I thank her, I want to tell you guys really quick about the boot camp. A lot of you have been messaging me. My social media boot camp is closing tomorrow. I have less than 10 spots, so if you want to get in, just put boot camp in the comments, and I'll give you guys, I'll message you with the link. Anyone who registers is also going to get the companion guide that's coming around this time, which will help you follow along, and also a certificate of excellence. It's accredited now, my program, so you can have that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you guys can put that on your resume and just help you to make sure, like she said, knowledge is important, obviously, for part of your path. So thank you so much, Jessica,
Thank
for
you.
doing this. You guys,
it.
isn't she awesome? So hopefully we can do this again.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend. Bye.